Hey, happy hump day, everybody. It's Wednesday, middle of the week, and you know what time it is. It's live stream time. Hey, it's good to see y'all. I've been kind of sick a little bit, but I'm back, and I'm super glad that we're going to be doing today's stream, which is how to create starting villages. Yes, starting villages are awesome. Everyone needs one for their campaign. It's a must, and sometimes when you're working on your starting village, you don't know where to start. So, hey, that's what this stream is about. And that includes stores, NPCs, tavern, plot hooks, you name it. All that stuff, we're throwing that in. So I'm excited for this. I noticed a lot of people were looking forward to this one, so I didn't want to cancel it. So I've done a lot of prep for it, and I'm super excited to run you through it. And of course, I am just one DM out of many, so if there's some things that I miss or you want to add in, feel free to add that in the chat, because I know there's probably a lot of DMs in here, and please share your knowledge, share the wealth, right? We all want to learn from each other, grow and get better, and make some badass sessions, right? That's what we want here. Okay, so before we kind of jump right in, first I just want to mention announcements. If you go to that little bell, the top right corner next to create new map, you'll notice that we have a new announcement, and that is that we have a new hell theme battle mat contest on our subreddit. Go ahead and click that notification and then click the Reddit contest link. Click that, that will take you to Reddit. Go ahead and read all the instructions before you start, so that way you don't get disqualified by making a mistake. So read carefully, go check that out, and go join, because the contests are a lot of fun, and the contests challenge you and make you a better cartographer. So go check out the Hell themed map contest. So very exciting about that. All right, hey Manzy Fool, welcome that you are here. Sweet. All right. So I'm going to let people filter in. Again, I want to reiterate what we're doing. We're doing a starting village. Now, I've went ahead and created 4 terrain types that we're going to build a village on. Now, we're not going to obviously going to go through all 4 of them, but I've got a winter theme, desert theme, a coast theme, and a forest glade theme. Okay, so I'll let people go ahead and vote and decide on which of those 4 terrain types that we want to build our city on. And of course, each terrain type comes with its own trappings now, but a lot of the concepts will remain the same when it comes to NPCs and locations, stores, and things like that. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and let people decide on which one you want to do. Please pick out of those 4: winter, desert, coast, and glade. And basically the one that gets the most votes within probably 60 seconds or within a minute or 2 minutes or so, that's the one we're going to pick. So I'll let people decide that. Super excited about that. I know there's not a lot of people in the stream yet, so it'll be easy for people to vote and pick which one. Yeah, I definitely like coast. Of course, whenever you're deciding the terrain about your village or just any location, of course, you're going to want to think about a couple things. The first one is the availability of water and food. Okay, now the coast has the ocean, so it's an excellent source for food. Obviously not water. You could boil the water, I guess, but for the most part, at least the sea has tons of fish and wildlife that you can go ahead and fish, hunt, whatever it is you're looking for to eat, because you always want to make sure that the people in your village, including your own players, have something to eat. It doesn't do very well if you're kind of located somewhere where there's no accessibility to food or water. That won't work very well. So coast it is. I'm going to go ahead and edit the map, open it right up. So we're going to start in the coast. I do love the coast. That sweet salt air swirling in your nose makes your nose all runny and you're all day, right? Hey, Eclipse Storm, I am glad you're here. Dragon, Dreams, and Squirrels. It's the Dream Squirrel Dragon. I love that. My nose is all runny from the coast. All right, so I kind of made this little coast scene, nothing fantastic, nothing special. I didn't add a lot here, so it's just kind of a very simple scene. Now, when I go zoom in, you'll notice that I've added a couple things. That water source is immediately available. So you do have a well, right? Now, I've already placed a stamp on the map. So this will work clearly as kind of the scale in which the guide that I'm working with, as well as this staircase right here that leads down to the coastline and or leads up to that plateau where the village is located. Okay, so now choosing the location isn't too complex, and choosing what kind of items to put or locations or buildings to put on it is not complex. So let's start with the most basic thing when you're starting with a village. And for me, I think that the tavern is the number one place. It's where it's very tropey. That's where a lot of adventures begin. Now, you don't have to start with a tavern, but a tavern works great as your player's HQ. It's where they can rent rooms. It's where they can get housing. If they want to get food, if they don't want to go hunting or go fishing, they can go to the tavern and go to get your meal. So the tavern is kind of the number one place, or the most tropey, the most expected place where you're probably going to have your players starting out. Now, you don't have to do that, and there's nothing wrong with tropey either. Tropey means that more characters will identify it, your players will identify with it, and it's easy to come up with a lot of different things that can happen within a tavern. So many things. A murder mystery can take place. Someone can get kidnapped. Someone can hire you to assassinate somebody. Someone can hire you to save somebody. There's so many different options when it comes to a tavern and what can happen within that space, just like any other building. So many things. Okay, so let's go ahead and just open up the catalog. I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to just type in village, and we're going to use the village stamp. It's a good start. I'm going to go ahead and show all of them, and we're going to want to pick one that works well for kind of like a tavern and an inn. A larger building, I think, works kind of well. Maybe this one should work well. And what I want to do is I'm going to place this up against the well and next to the staircases. And I'm going to look carefully and see if I need to make it a bit smaller. And I think I do. We could move this down to... But what I'm doing is I'm looking at the door to the inn, and I'm thinking, okay, how wide should the door be in comparison to the stairs? And I'm thinking about 230, I think, should be good. And then all my buildings will be around that scale, okay? So the first one is the tavern. I'll put it up here. So now I have this nice tavern. This is where your players are going to start out. That's where their housing is. And that's a good place, I think, to start. So we'll put it up here, facing right towards the well. So it's right there, accessible to the water source. Now, once you've also chosen that, we'll go and talk about each building as well. Let's go ahead and pick the next thing. Now, you always want to have, at least in my campaigns, is having a general store where you're going to find the rope, the hammer, the nails, the saw, the shovel, those little offhand items that you need to complete side quests or a main quest, whatever it is. You need a general store, right? You're going to be able to find the kind of things that you need for your players, because you're going to need supplies, bedrolls, candles, whatever is the basic materials that you need, or tools that your players are going to need when you're starting out. Because, hey, that stuff's not just going to be given to them, right? That's not the world that our players live in. It's a tough, rough, crazy world, and otherwise they're going to have to steal it or they're going to have to buy it, right? So make sure that you throw in a general store. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a general store, one that looks good here. I think this one looks all right. We can scroll through and see what other ones we have. I think this one looks good. This one right here has some crates and some barrels in front of it. I mean, they all do, but this one right here has a fair amount of crates and barrels, and that's kind of what I would expect from a store, right? It's going to have goods, it's going to have crates and barrels with materials, tools, and other items, right? So it's nice to have a general store. And I've placed it right here so it looks nice. Now, I also want to mention that the reason why I'm not making this a battle map is because a lot of things that DMs do, at least noob, and I've done this too as a noob DM, is that I try to make a map or make a battle map for everything or a visual for everything. Hey, guess what? that is an exercise in futility. As a DM, give yourself less work instead of more work. So you don't have to make visuals for the interiors of every building. That's what theater of mind is for, right? If you're making maps for everything, you've just given yourself a buttload of work, and you don't want to do that. And I know that a lot of DMs are on the fly, right? They're in a hurry, they're in a rush, they've got a lot to do. World building and campaign building is a serious task, very time consuming. So give yourself less work. The only reason why I'm making a regional map for the starting village is because it's to give a first impression. This is where you first start out. It's nice to have a visual where you start out, but you don't have to make a regional map for every single village. You can if you want, but it's a starting village, right? So make it imposing. It doesn't have to be insane, but make it look nice. This is the place where your players are going to start, okay? So now after I've made that, there are a couple other things that I might want to make. I might want to make a random person's house. So when you're thinking about your village, you also want to factor in NPCs. For instance, let's say that you have an NPC in the tavern and one has hired you to break into someone's house and to steal something. Or maybe they want you to go to someone's house and pick up an item. Or maybe they want you to investigate a house where perhaps they feel that something has happened. Hey, first time chat, Glorious Zote, glad you're here. Okay, so when you're making your village, it's always nice to throw in maybe a random NPC house and to use that NPC house for a part of the story or a part of the beginning quest. And whenever you start, of course, your players, you don't want to lunge them immediately into the main quest. You're kind of building up to that. So throwing in a rando NPC's house is a great way to propel that story. So you could say that this is a house where there's a cult leader that lives, or a suspected serial killer, or there's someone in the house that you're trying to save. So the list goes on, okay? Now I'm going to scroll through and pick a house that might go well. And of course, when I'm picking it, I also want it to kind of fit in well with the rest. So this is a smaller one. You've got a nice little garden here on the side. On the left side of the house, the entrance of the house is facing towards the stairwell. Okay, now you'll notice that I'm placing the buildings circular around the well. Now that makes sense, right? Because you want to make sure that all the people that live in that village, including the bad guys, have access to that water source, right? So right there, right next to it, there you go. All right, hey, first time chat, Spider Cat. 666, the mark of the beast. Welcome. Okay, so one, we've got our tavern. Lots of goodies are going to happen at the tavern. We've got our general store where you're going to buy your shovels and all that goodies. Hey, how are you? I am good, thank you very much. Hey, Deathlock, welcome, glad you're here. Another 6-6. Man, a lot of mark of the beast here. It's the end times. Okay, so now we're going to add in another building. Now, there are a couple other items and buildings that you can add. A general store might not be enough. If you want, you can add a weapon shop. You can add a potion shop. If you don't want to have multiple shops, then that's okay. You can have the general store have some of the potions you're looking for. Maybe they sell a couple offhand crossbows, arbalests, daggers, whatever, all right? Most likely at that general store, you're not going to have enchanted items, magical swords, stuff like that. Remember, when the starting village is generally level 1. So try not to overpower your characters by stocking your store or your shops with overpowered items and things like that. So just kind of factor that in. So now I'm going to go ahead and throw in a couple more buildings. And now not every building that you put down has to have a function. A lot of players, people, DMs get carried away with every single building has to be something. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. That's not true. You don't have to give every single building a particular function. Now you can. That's up to you, and it really just depends on the size of the village. Clearly, if you've got this massive town or a decent village with over 30 buildings, it's going to be a lot of work for you as a DM to decide which ones you want, right? That's not me at all. I totally relate to that. So I'm going to place down another building. Okay. Now this could be, if you want it to be, it could be a shop. It could be a weapon shop. It could be a fortune teller. It could be, maybe if it's a fortune teller, then maybe that's a part of the plot line, right? Lots of different things. I wouldn't make that a fortune teller. That looks like a decent sized house. So that could be maybe where a magister lives or the person in charge. Police, I'd like to report identity theft. Hello and welcome. And then let's actually put in a kind of a fortune teller. I kind of like the idea of a fortune teller, someone who is, this might play a role when deciding, maybe when your players go to get their fortune told, maybe that propels the plot line, right? Just, not all plot lines have to happen within the tavern. The tavern can just be the starting place where you introduce, because maybe that's just where all the characters meet, right? For a lot of DMs, it's hard to kind of try to figure out, well, how is it that all my players came together in this one place? So having a tavern is a great excuse for where your players can meet each other, right? And also, you could have maybe a bartender or some kind of waitress or whatever says to you, hey, there's a discount for fortunes right now, go to the fortune teller. Maybe that's going to propel your characters to go all get their fortune, and maybe by some twist of fate they all get the same fortune, and that is what brings them together. That is what propels the plot and what they're going to band them together to do the thing that they want to do, right? So when you're thinking about what is on the map, think about how each one or certain things are going to propel you forward. Hey, bazooga to you. Hey, yep, I have COVID, so I'm not hot, but hey, it happens, and I have been vaccinated, so I'm good. I hope to be healed within a couple of weeks, and I don't really want to cancel any more streams because, hey, the streams are really fun, and I love doing these with you guys. Okay, so thank you, by the way. Thank you for the well wishes, everyone. I greatly appreciate that. So here's what we're at so far. We've got our tavern. That's the place where your characters are going to meet. Hey, first time chat, Corrupts Kitty. I have been having this problem since it came out. Still loving it and will keep paying for pro to support you guys. Hey, really glad that you are here. And we are glad that you are supporting us. So thank you. All right, so again, we've got that tavern. And I'm going to go ahead and stick with the fortune teller one. I kind of like that idea where maybe there's a barmaid who's handing out flyers that says, hey, special discount for fortunes. And that is where our players are going to go. Each one person's going to get their fortune told. And then that is going, and they're all going to have the exact same fortune propelling them on the quest. Okay, so that is the tavern. The next one right here I've got selected in the far left. This is going to be that general store. Remember, that's where you're going to get all your goodies: the rubber chicken, the whoopee cushion, the rope, the dagger, the fart noise bag. All that stuff is absolutely necessary for your quest because, hey, there's nothing better than gagging a villain, right? Just trip them. They're going to fall over, land on the whoopee cushion. Perfect, right? Nothing more fun than clowning the bad guys, right? You gotta clown those baddies, right? That's what's fun. We also have that random house, and whatever that may be, doesn't really matter. It could be an NPC. It could be maybe where the prefect lives. Sometimes your players can be very ruly, and they can be murder hobos, and they just, I want to kill everybody because I want to kill everybody. Well, the great way to put those players in check is to create a prefect. And that prefect is going to say, hey, you mess around in my town, and I'm going to throw you into the brig. You understand? So it's always nice to have a prefect in whatever town, village, or city that you have, so that way you can keep those murder hobos in check. Don't let those murder hobos kill all your NPCs, because, hey, some of those NPCs are going to be kind of important for the plot line. So create a prefect, and a prefect, by the way, is like a police officer. So make sure you have maybe a prefect if you want to keep your murder hobo companions in check, okay? We've got the fortune teller, and we've got whatever this might be. This could be the prefect for all we know. It doesn't matter. Up to you, okay? So we've got this nice starting village here. I think it looks good. I'm going to go ahead and save. I'm only at 13 changes. It's not much, but we'll get going. That voice acting is awesome sauce. Delish. All right, drinking my fluids. Because let me tell you, COVID is not friendly. COVID is a meanie. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save. And I want to mention some other things about your village. And I'm probably going to paint in some roads. I'm going to line my roads with some stuff. Pardon me. All right, where are we at for time? 10:20. Sweet. Absolutely, definitely going to stay hydrated. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and create the road that goes to the staircase there. I'm going to make sure that I got the right size. I'm going to bring the size down. I'm just going to go ahead and, oopsie, that is too much. Whenever I'm making a road, I try to bring the opacity down so that way it doesn't look too crazy. So if I go in and just kind of throw in a road that goes right to here, because you want to make sure that you have some obvious roads. I'm going to have a road that goes this way like this and then out. So it's kind of leading the way out. Now, a couple other things you might want to consider when you're making your starting village is to also have some kind of guard tower so that way you can at least have some kind of protection. Now, this is already raised up on a plateau, so there's already a natural defense on the left side. As you can see, there are some cliffs, right? But on the right side, the other side, you'll notice that there is not much for defenses, right? So we might want to consider throwing in a guard tower. So if I just type in tower, there should be a nice guard tower in here somewhere. There it is right there, a watchtower. And I can go ahead and just put it right here on this side. So now we have a nice guard tower there. So just in case the village gets attacked, perhaps you have one thing that can happen. And a great thing that you can add for a story is that the town that you're staying in gets maybe raided by marauders or a gang of thieves or bandits. And so that's a great way for your characters to engage in combat, for your players to get loot, and to drive the plot line forward. You could say that the fortune that you all received plays a role, or it's just tied into the bandit attack. So it's always nice to have that guard tower. And if you want, you can throw in fencing. I'm not going to worry about that. But a guard tower is a nice thing to have. It's a great defensive thing to have. Now, the other thing that we should add in is a windmill, because we're near the ocean, right? Now, whenever the ocean meets land, you get a lot of crazy weather, really powerful, strong winds. And that's perfect for a windmill, right? So let's throw in a windmill because, hey, your people are going to need to eat, right? And the mill is where you process the grain, the millet, whatever it is, whatever is being ground in the millstone, within the mill, right? And so we'll throw some crops at the top. That's where our food source will be. And we'll throw in one windmill, okay? So I'll go ahead, throw in a windmill. Okay, and there's a couple of them here. All right, so you got a windmill right here. Now we can either put it here. We could create another, like a plateau rock and put that on top of, and then we could put like maybe a little piece of fencing that goes across. Like maybe I can move this just a little bit over to the side, and then we can create some kind of fencing that goes across. So let's go ahead and create another plateau rock. Now, in previous streams, you've seen me make these. I love to make my own little plateau rocks. Let's see here. I'm looking for a specific one. Oh, there it is. I found it. My bad. There we go. Okay, I'm going to place this right here. Now, remember, I'm going to put the windmill somewhere high up, okay? Because the higher up the higher up it is, the more it's going to hit those wind currents and the better that it will operate. So I'll go ahead and throw on one rock plateau right here, and I can put it right here or put it right here if I want to. Up to you. I don't really like it there because there's already a tower there. And in fact, we could remove this building. Let's do this instead. Let's put the windmill right here. I think that's a better location for it, high up in the corner, and then we'll move this one to right here instead. Now, don't be afraid to move some of your buildings around, okay? It's all right if you change the layout. I absolutely totally recommend it if you want to, okay? So now we've got the mill that's necessary for processing the grain, and now we'll go ahead and pop in some crops. So I'll just type in cropped. You gotta have them croppeds. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and throw the crops out here in the background. So we'll have maybe some cabbage, lettuce set up, maybe this over here, throw that one in there, and just throw them in the corner. Now it's okay, you wanna make sure that you can at least see them, so at least it's obvious there's some crops there. There we go, and you know what, I'm gonna overlap. So I'm gonna put this right here, I'm gonna put this one right here as well. And then this way there's some overlap, because I always recommend overlap. That's how you kind of create your depth. One other thing I like to do is to use a brown texture, because it wouldn't just be grass growing right along the crop. You would expect the ground to be tilled. And so I'm going to go ahead and choose a brown texture. I'm just going to go ahead and paint in everywhere there's some crop, that kind of brownish color, because it's meant to represent dirt. You don't want the grass to start to take over your crops, right? So you're maintaining it by throwing in some dirt, and we'll throw some dirt underneath here as well. And I always like to throw a little bit of dirt underneath all my buildings, because grass just doesn't grow right up against your building. Obviously, there's a little bit of dirt, so I'll go ahead and throw a little bit of dirt underneath each one of my buildings. Okay. So the starting village is doing good. You've got some basic stuff here. Let's go ahead and finish painting in this last spot here. Now the other things I want to throw in is maybe some vegetation. So there are some trees that I could add in, some bushes, some grass, and it's just a nice element to throw into your starting village, because remember, this is the starting village. You want a nice scene, a backdrop, because as you're explaining things, as you're doing your theater of mind or explaining the story or explaining what's happening within one of these buildings, it's nice to have a visual for your players to look at. So this is one of those kind of maps that it's okay to add details and to throw in some nice stuff. So first, let's throw in some trees. And I'm going to go ahead and pick deciduous trees. I'm going to look at the size. Now, as always, I like to overlap. So I'm going to throw one in front like this. Let's put another one right here. Let's put a couple over here lining along this edge. Now, I'm not going to put any by the windmill, because it makes total sense, right? If I put a tree right here, well, those windmill sails are going to... Well, that's not going to do any good, right? You need a functional windmill. So don't put any trees by your windmills. Don't put any trees by your towers, by your guard tower either, because that you don't want anything to obstruct the view from the guard tower, right? The guards who are stationed up there need to be able to see the surround without any obstructions, so make sure of that as well. I don't recommend putting any trees near your crops as well. Roots get in the way of digging when you're trying to build your crops, so don't put any trees around your crops. If you want, you can line them around the edge, around the surround of the crops, around the periphery, but don't put them necessarily in the walkways where your crops are, because again, it doesn't make any sense. The roots are going to be kind of annoying and hard to deal with, you as a farmer, so don't let that happen, okay? So let's throw in a couple more trees. I think we can throw in different kind of trees. In nature, as you know, there's never just one kind of tree. There's a lots of different kinds. So let's just throw in a couple pine trees that kind of just line along here. Again, not in front of the windmill, of course. Let's throw in a couple right here, and then maybe one in the corner like here, just on the edge. There we go. So now you have that, and it looks okay so far. Next, we're going to throw in some grass. And I always like to line my roads and this circular, see, notice there's kind of a circular pattern here, or where the road is. So I'm going to go ahead and line that. And of course, as always, overlap, right? So I'll throw in a couple in front of the buildings, a couple in front of here. And the reason why I do that is because sometimes just the line work, you see that thick line underneath the windmill, that can look kind of weird, right? And what I want is some transition. So throwing in a couple grass stamps and putting them along the base of your buildings is kind of a great way to kind of hide the line work, right? So that's always a nice idea. And we can throw in a couple here, throw in here, maybe one here. And it's okay to even put them along your crops. And you'll notice that the crops even look kind of weird. So we'll throw in a couple of those as well. One here, here, and I think here. Now you notice that I've done one size, so this is a pretty tall bunch of grass. Now let's bring them down a couple sizes and throw in some smaller ones. Because in nature, there's a diversity in size and in species. So whenever you're throwing down a bush, a tree, whatever, make sure that you vary the sizes, right? Because it won't look like it's natural if all your grass tufts and all your trees are the exact same size. That looks super weird, right? So don't do that. And what I like to do is when I throw in these larger size tufts, I'll throw in some medium sized tufts around them, next to them, and then some small ones after that. This is pretty much my standard modus operandi when it comes to placing down foliage, grass, anything like that, okay? Next, we're going to throw in even smaller size, so I'll maybe take it down to 30. And of course, whenever you're bringing them down, you want to make sure the size is noticeably different. So if you start scaling down your grass and it almost looks the same as the last size that you were putting down, that's a no bueno. Make sure that you scale it down to where it's small enough to where you can notice it. Okay, so you notice how these are significantly smaller than the medium-sized ones that I put down. Okay, that's an absolute necessity. Okay, so throwing down those nice smaller ones always looks nice. It's just, again, remember, in nature, there's a wide variety. There's so much diversity in nature. So mimic that diversity as much as possible by doing your variety and diversity of sizes with your plants. Okay, very, very important. Now I'm going to go ahead and line my road like this. And of course, when you're lining your roads, you don't want to make a perfect line like this because that looks unnatural, right? The grass is growing against the edge of the road because it can't grow on top of the stone, right? So the grass just grows on the periphery or the edge of the road. And what this also does is this creates a frame or a highlight around your road, making it clear that this is a road. So it's always nice to throw in a little bit of grass and stuff like that. So that way it's very clear that this is the road bits. Okay, let me zoom out here. This looks good, this looks good. And of course, I'm gonna take some of that road and I'm gonna have it go a little bit going to each kind of building, just a hair. Like we could throw, oh, that's where we're gonna have there. Let's put one right in front here. Let's put one a little bit right here. Let's make sure to put some right there. Let's take a look. And I think that should look good. Let's take a step back and see what we've done. Awesome. Let's go ahead and save. We're at 10:34. We've gone in 34 minutes. We've gotten so much done. Awesome. It's looking good so far. Okay, awesome. I am liking the way this is going. This is looking good. I think we've kind of stocked everything. Everything looks kind of good. We're doing all right. So I'm going to go ahead and wait and allow for it to save. And then we're going to throw in a couple more plot. We're going to throw in some elements to give it more of a plot. Throw in some filters. Maybe we want it to be nighttime. I think it's more interesting I think it's more interesting to throw in some elements that kind of make the village mysterious. We could throw in a fog bank that might be rolling in from sea, shrouding much of the village in fog, making the fortune tellers omens or fortune more ominous. Making it at nighttime can make it more ominous. So factor in kind of those things, right? So it's always nice to have some of those things. And thank you, Cheryl, for catching that, by the way. Cheryl, bam! Clean up that mess. Don't be messing. I love it. Yeah, we got the best mods. Boom, boom. Sniped that vagrant. We sniped him. Got him. Oh, dare you intrude upon our space. Okay. All right. So we'll take a look at what we got here so far. And so far, I'm really liking it. It looks good, right? So let's look at some extra options here. I like the idea of a fog bank kind of creeping in. I like the idea of nighttime. So let's perhaps do all of that stuff. Let's throw in some clouds to kind of represent a fog bank kind of rolling in. I'm not going to choose these clouds because you notice that there's a built-in shadow. I'll go ahead and place one of these clouds. And if you look underneath it, you'll notice that there is a shadow underneath, and I don't want that. So instead, what I'll do is I'll open up that catalog. I'm going to type in clouds, and I'm going to click search all styles. Now it's going to load every single cloud that is in every single style, and that way I can pick the clouds that I want. Now I like choosing these clouds. I think these work really well. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the complete saturation to give them a grayish color. I'm also going to bring the brightness up so it's kind of that whitish color. And the next step is to also drop the opacity. Now and the reason why I'm doing that is because the more of these clouds that you stack up, the more opaque they're gonna become. So I'll place one down for now in this corner, and then I'll place another one. And I'm going to keep placing these clouds. And what I'm doing is creating a fog bank that's going to be kind of rolling in quickly before the fog rolls in. Quickly, quickly. There we go. Get some thick fog in here. Just like my brain right now from COVID. Some fog. Oh no, the foggies. Okay, and I'll throw in some really, really thick ones, I think. Right here. There we go. I'll put another thick one right here. Not the fogginess. Oh no. Why am I talking in this voice? I'm still doing it. Sorry, there was just something in my throat there. Okay, there we go. I think that will do. So we got that thick part on the left side there. Okay, so we got that. Now let's go ahead and throw in a filter. So I'll go to that filter tool, add a new filter. It's going to be under texture, so nighttime filter. Well, I'm going to open it up. Now you're going to notice the night filter is on layer 4. Thank goodness, right? Because you want your light sources to be in +5. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let's just zoom in and take a look. It does have that creepy feel to it. If you wanted to intensify the fogginess, we can throw in another filter that's got fog. So I can go in like this, type it in, go to that filters, and there should be a fog. So let me type in Fantasy Battle Maps 2.0, and there should be an eerie fey fog. Let's just throw that in there. Let me take a look here. Let's bring the opacity down. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay. Now, let's go throw some light sources in. Now, one really fun thing to do is that you can use the path tool to create some pretty fun stuff. What's really nice with a night scene is to have the lights from the inside of your buildings showing on the outside to represent light sources. And light sources with a night filter looks primo. It looks good. Really adds some interesting characters. Now, we could use the path tool, or we can just use a light stamp. It's up to you how you want to go about it. I'll go ahead and just type in light. There should be some light sources in here. One right here is just fine. Make sure it's set to layer +5. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and push down the light source. Let's see, it's on 5. Let me use an orange one instead, I think. We'll just see. Okay, let me put that night filter down another layer just to be sure. Where are we? Night filter, set to 4. Let's go down 1. There we go. Okay. And let's go with, we're going to change the light source to normal. There we go. And you know what? Let's go ahead and place this here. Let's bring the opacity down. Okay. I'm going to place one there, copy, paste, put another one right here. Now, this is just the first step. I'm just placing where the light sources are going to be. So we'll put one there. We'll put one on each window over here. Let's scale it down. There we go. Copy, paste. Okay, we're going to keep going. Let me take a step back real quick. All right, cool. We're going to keep going. I'm going to add in a light source to kind of a lot of windows, not all of them. I mean, unless you want to, you totally can. Sometimes if you want, not putting one in a window kind of makes it look like it's scary. Maybe you can change one of the light sources to green to make it look like there's necro energy, necro bad, something going on inside of that building. Up to you, right? So really up to you how you want to go about that. Let's see here. I think for now that should be enough. Now let's go in and change that blend mode to back to overlay. And I'm going to go ahead and just place one down like this and place it right over it like this. 100%. There we go. Let me just take a look, place this over it like that. Actually, that one won't work very well. Let's use this one instead for now. There we go. All right, I'm going to place one on right on top like this. And I'm going to change, we're going to change some things, change some blend modes and stuff. There we go. Place one here, here. And I'm just placing a larger light source that kind of goes over. Oh yeah, I love that idea, Doggy Crimson. Maybe the well glows in the dark too. What's going on? Well, I am confused, Mr. Well. What is happening here? All right, so we got some light sources here. We're at 73 changes. I'm going to save. We're at 42 minutes. So now we've added some elements to the village that kind of gives it more ominous. Now remember, it's a starting village, so don't add in maybe some massive creatures. Don't make it too horrific. You don't want your players to shit their pants. I mean, unless that's funny to you. Maybe you do. But remember, it's a starting village, so we don't want to go too crazy. I'm only throwing in the fog because it creates a more ominous setting for the fortune teller, and the night scene helps to amplify that ominousness as well. So again, I'm not going to throw in crazy creatures or monsters, anything like that I don't want to go overkill, right? Now I can, however, change the light source for the fortune teller, because this is the main building where the plot line is propelled. So I will change the hue and I'll throw in a color so that way this particular building is different from these other buildings. So so maybe in the tavern the barmaid says, hey, we're doing a special discount today on fortunes. Look for the house with the purple lights. Right? And that way you'll know that this particular building is different from the other building. So great suggestion, Cheryl. By the way, I went with purple, and of course, purple is a wonderful color. So why would I not choose it? All right. So we got that nice creepy purple color right there. And maybe it's a cold night. It's the coast, right? And the coast can be very cold at night. So we're going to throw in some smoke as well. Okay, I'm going to choose that white smoke, and I'm going to go ahead and place them on top as you would expect. And since there's the coast and it's windy, I'm going to go ahead and tilt the smoke so it looks like the wind is blowing from the coastline. So I'll bring it down 1, 2, let's go up 1. That's fine. And I'll bring the opacity down. There we go. And we'll place another one on top right there, another one right here. And of course, again, the smoke is going in the same direction because the wind is blowing from the coastline going inland. Okay, so that's why we have that smoke all going in the same direction. If you're ever going to add smoke on your chimneys, remember to have them all going in the same direction. It's going to be really weird if your smoke is going left, right, and then everywhere else. It's going to look kind of odd. They're going to be like, whoa, this wind is stubborn, and you don't want that. So make sure that your smokes are going in the same direction. Okay, so now we've got some smoke. We've got our well here. I'm going to go ahead and take a step back and look. Another great thing to throw in is maybe a ship. Maybe you want to have it to where, how is it that your players are going to travel to some location? Maybe how are the pirates or the bandits going to get there? So you can throw in maybe a ship or a boat. And that will also fill in that space. Maybe the ship comes with a fog. Maybe the pirates have a wizard or a magician or someone with them, and they're using magic to hide the ship in fog. So we'll just have just a little bit of fog. We'll show just a little bit of the ship right down here. You can just barely see the ship. That's perfect, right? So now we have this ship. This could be the pirates, marauders, bandits, or it could just be a merchant ship. It doesn't really matter, right? But at least we've got that, because this corner right here is a little bare. It looks a little hurt in there. It looks a little empty. So we'll throw in some goodies in there. And it would be cool to maybe throw some lights on the ship, but then again, that defeats the purpose. If the ship is coming in incognito and it doesn't want to be seen, it's going to douse all its flames, all its lights, all its lanterns, its torches, because if it wants to sneak up, if it wants to do a night attack, it wants to do sneakies, it's going to have to do it quietly and without being noticed, right? So the fog acts as a cover from the magician or wizard or the conjurer that might be working with the pirates. So that works as a cover, and they've doused all their lights because they don't want that guard ship, that guard tower right there. They don't want that guard tower or anyone to see this ship coming if they're going to do an attack, right? So I'll go ahead and save. We are at 47 minutes. We are pretty much close to done. I'm probably just going to throw in one more thing, and that is probably just a board that's going to act as a title plate and maybe have some text on it, because it's nice to throw in some kind of introductory statement, paragraph, a little tidbit that's going to be something that your players can read or you can read to your players. All right. Well, in the world of D&D, I can tell you right now that every ship is supposed to sink, all right? No ship is supposed to float for too long. Otherwise, it's not an adventure, right? If your ship is still afloat halfway through the game, you're not playing it right, okay? Every ship needs to sink. You understand me? Okay, so I'm going to throw in a real quick, like a billboard or something. Oh, you know what would be fun? I got one idea. I'm going to do this instead of making this. I'm going to create a community board in which players can go to get jobs. So one thing that I see a lot of players or DMs struggle with is sometimes it's hard to steer your players onto the main story arc, okay? And the way to do that is to create a community billboard that might have odd jobs. Whenever your players are just going way out, they're not following into the main plot line, and that's fine. Don't worry about it. The truth is that your players are really going to decide most of the events and the plot line. So a community board is a great place to add in a series of jobs, quests for hire, all those kind of things. Those little quests, those little tiny quests are how you direct the player back into the main plot, okay? So, and it's okay if your players go off from the main plot. That is going to happen. Whatever you do, don't make a perfect story arc with A to Z. Instead, you're going to have to come up with all these little plot hooks and all these little things, and you want to shuffle them around. Your players are not going to follow a script. They're not going to go from A to Z. They're going to go from A to F to back to B to C to Z to M. That is going to happen. So a billboard is a great way to put in all those little side quests to direct your characters right back into the main arc, okay? So I'll make a real quick community board, and I'm just going to go to this corner over here because there's a lot of stuff over here. I'm going to click all my clouds. I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to lock them right away so that way they're not in the way. And they come back to A and kill all the NPCs. Well, what were you expecting? Of course. All right, let's go ahead and lock the selection here. Good. I can't really select anything else. Perfect. So I'm going to go into Fantasy Battle Maps 2.0, and I'm just going to grab just a table like this, and we're going to make a very simple community board. Let's just go with this rustic Nordic table. This will work perfect. I'm going to make it small. Let's just look at our size here. About there looks fine. Let's throw that there. Okay, I'm going to turn off my shadows. I'm going to get some poles. Okay. All right, got some nice poles here. All right, and you'll notice on the pole that there's a face on one side. Don't show that face, okay? So I'll put the board right there, or the pole right there. I'm going to put it underneath as well. Okay, so here's our board. The next step is let's actually make a second face. So I'll go ahead and put another one up top. I'm going to create the face at the top. I'm going to flip and rotate this. So this is that other face. And I'm going to make this a little bit brighter because it's the top. So this is how you make two faces. So you'll notice that I have the top part of the board and the front face of the board. Now I'm going to go ahead and take some notes. Okay, and I'm just going to place them kind of a rando like this. Let's throw in a bigger one right here. Let's throw in another one over here. Let's throw in a shuffle of them right here. Let's throw in another big one right here, maybe on this side. Throw in another one over here. There we go. Oh, another one right here. Okay. So now you have your kind of community board. Of course, I'm going to group the whole thing. And then I'm going to make sure that the board is a layer above. Oopsie, not like that. There we go. I'm going to put the board, I think right here will do just fine. Perfect. So now there's a community board right here. So now your players can walk up to that community board and they can kind of get the side quests. If maybe there's a specific magical item that will be required to fight the main beastie or baddie, right? Maybe you're gonna need to kidnap somebody to propel forward, or save somebody, or kill somebody, assassinate, and the billboard is great for that. It's going to have all these jobs for hires. Where you're going to find your bounty sheets. It's where you're going to find the help wanted. It's where you're going to find the security detail. Maybe you're trying to protect someone from going from one location to another. That's called a private retinue or protective service. So maybe that you're all getting hired to do that. Okay, so your community board is a great place where your players can kind of come together and decide on the kind of quests and the things that they're going to be carrying out, and again, how you propel that story. So definitely add in a community board into your village. So I think that's it. And there's nothing else to really add. I think I've tried to explain everything that should be in a starting village. And remember, it doesn't matter the terrain that you choose. This is what you're usually going to do. You're going to be picking a lot of different things. Okay. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you so much. This has been a great stream. I'm glad that we kept it short. We kept it simple. And I've got the next month's streams calendar. I'm working on that right now. And I'll probably set that up probably sometime today or tomorrow. And I just want a quick reminder for everybody that we're going to be changing up the schedule. We're going to be doing one stream per week. That's going to be on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Mondays are a little frustrating when I'm trying to fight against the lawn service that's driving people crazy. So I don't want to drive you, want your eardrums bleeding. So we're going to be doing it now only on Wednesdays, 10 a.m. PST. This is going to allow me to plan more ahead and to keep these streams shorter. But don't worry that just because we're doing one stream a week doesn't mean that there's not going to be more content on our YouTube channel. There's going to be tons of new content that I'll be adding, from time lapses, little short videos on how to make things. So don't you worry. Just because we're doing one stream a week doesn't mean that we're going to skimp out on the amount of content. So lots of goodies. So look forward to that. So hey, thank you everybody. Please stay safe and healthy. Happy hump day. I hope your week ends shortly and you can get to that sweet, sweet weekend and enjoy that time. All right. Hey, I love you all. You guys are awesome. Absolutely fantastic. You've been great. And I'm all looking forward to seeing you all next week with a whole new set of streams coming up. So look for that. Please stay safe and healthy. And remember, merry map making. I'll see you all real soon, okay? Thanks a lot, everybody. Wiedersehen.